A new video of Cardi B and Elle has just surfaced online, and it's the first real look at the two stars since their apology drama exploded back into the spotlight. Fans are analyzing every second of the footage, trying to figure out one thing. Are they finally cool again, or is there still tension behind the scenes? To understand what's really going on, we need to start from the beginning. After Latto addressed the situation and confirmed she referenced Cardi on her Big Mama album, Cardi issued a detailed response on X within hours. That interview is the video everybody's talking about. That's the new footage. Latto on camera confirming what fans had been theorizing for a week straight. In her Breakfast Club interview, Latto confirmed certain lyrics on Gimme That from Big Mama were in fact aimed at Cardi. Well, yes, it was about Cardi, she admitted before explaining she recorded her album throughout her pregnancy. That one sentence, yes, it was about Cardi, is what sent the whole internet into a spin, because up until that point, fans had been dissecting the lyrics from both sides. Some heard a disc, others said it was just bar talk, but Latto cleared it up herself in real time on one of hip-hop's most watched interview platforms. The Atlanta rapper explained she was caught completely off guard when she caught a stray during Cardi's leaked rant about Ice Spice, because she had just rushed out her verse for the airtime remix, so it would count toward Cardi's first week album sales. Elle recalled how just a couple of days after she tried to help out a peer she considered a friend, that same person was all over the internet calling her AP. Think about the timing on that for a second. She ran to the studio. She laid her verse. She helped push that first week number. And then 48 hours later, she's watching herself get dragged online. I'm pregnant. Emotions high, and it was someone I dead as looked at as a friend. Late told the Breakfast Club hosts. And that's the part that really landed. Not just the disrespect, but the fact that these two were texting. They had a real relationship. This wasn't two strangers. They were on a texting basis. So Latto felt like, yeah, you tweeted to the world, but we got each other's number. She confirmed that Cardi reached out about 2 months later. Latto had already mentally moved on from the situation. The Breakfast Club hosts weren't letting it breathe either. Jess Hilarious went in when Latto said she didn't need a bag as an apology. Jess Hilarious chimed in. And not to make up for calling me Pee-wee either, Elle agreed. Yeah, especially in exchange for that like, I don't know, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. That phrase left a bad taste in my mouth is doing a lot of work. It says I don't hate you, but I haven't forgiven you either. It says we're not beefing, but we're not friends right now. Latto confirmed she hasn't spoken to Cardi since their remix of Airtime was released, but says she's open to working things out. I'm open to the conversation, she explained. And then Cardi saw the interview, and Cardi responded within hours publicly on X. That's where this story gets even more layered, because Cardi didn't go silent. She didn't let it sit. She came straight to the camera, so to speak. I truly understand how you feel, and that's exactly why I chose to apologize publicly, because the disrespect became public. Cardi wrote on X on June 4th, just hours after Latto's interview aired. Two women, two perspectives, one unresolved chapter, and the internet watching every second of it. Now, let's rewind to where this track came from, because the lyrics on Gimme Dad aren't just bars. They're a whole diary entry locked away on a platinum-tier album written by a pregnant woman who felt crossed. Latto released her fourth studio album Big Mama on May 29th. While much of the press attention before the album's release stemmed from her pregnancy and the impending birth of her first child. Now that the project is out and she's given birth, people are focusing on the album's lyrics. The track that broke the internet is Gimme That. And once you hear what she actually raps, the connection to Cardi becomes impossible to ignore. __ said what? Let's clock it. It really got a Hermes store in my closet. Talking about buying Big Mama a bag like mine, ain't already bought it. Like mine ain't coming off racks. Big bank over here. Big facts. Wish a bike would get in that booth. I'm calling up Clark Boy Max. She raps. So let's break down what's happening in those bars. The buying Big Mama a bag line is the most direct shot that goes straight back to Card's apology post where she told the world she'd be privately buying Latto a designer bag to make it up to her. The reference to buying Big Mama a bag is what aligns the lyric closest to Cardi. LS Gimme lyrics about buying Big Mama a bag were widely viewed as a response to that apology. Elsewhere on the track, Latto also raps, wish aim __ would get in that booth. I'm calling up Clark Boy Max. Clark Boy Max is one of the most respected ghost writing consultants in the game. Latto basically said, come rap with me if you want the smoke and bring your writers. Fan chatter on social media buzzed hard after listeners picked up those theories about Latto appearing to take a jab at Cardi and challenging the Bronx rapper to get into the booth. One ex-user wrote that Latto dared Cardi to get in the booth and told her to send her ghostwriter. Another posted that Latto dissed Cardi on her album over the leaked call. The comment section became the story. But here's the thing. Latto herself pushed back on the diss track label. She said folks thought it was a disc because they were just now hearing the song. But she says she was rapping about what was going on in her life at the time. It wasn't no disc. That's just what was happening in my life. That's the complexity of it all. It's not a disc in the traditional sense. It's a wound that got written into a verse and now the whole world is reading that wound out loud. The renewed attention arrived during a dominant era for women in rap where competition often fuels public conversation as much as chart success itself. Listeners remain divided. Some hear ordinary rap talk. Others believe Latto intentionally reignited unfinished business with Cardi through one of Big Mama's sharpest records. What made it hit harder is the timing. The Atlanta rapper recently suggested that Big Mama would be her final album. So, when she puts Cardi B on a track of what she's calling her swan song, that's not a throwaway moment. That's deliberate real estate on a project that's supposed to define her legacy. She chose what goes there. And she chose this. To understand why Latto is still carrying this, you have to go all the way back to where the fuse was lit. Not the apology, not the remix, the leaked phone call. Following the release of Cardi B's second studio album, I the Drama. In 2025, the feud between Cardi and Nicki Minaj was reignited when Nicki tweeted insults toward Cardi regarding her pregnancy and album sales. That night, September 29, 2025, X was on fire. Both sides were dropping shots, counter shots, receipts, and accusations. It was one of the messiest rap beef nights in recent memory. Cardi B and Nicki Minaj's X accounts both erupted with shots aimed at each other, spawning several different headlines with scathing layered remarks. And while that battle between those two was the headline, something else was happening in the background. A phone recording surfaced and it pulled in two people who hadn't asked to be involved. Cardi B was the subject of a leaked phone conversation with Ice Spice's manager, which saw her threatening Ice Spice and taking shots at Latto and Raytusa. The Grammy-winning rapper apologized to Latto for dissing her on the leaked phone call with Ice Spice's manager, James Roseman Jr. Cardi was furious and referenced Latto, who previously had beef with Ice Spice on multiple occasions during the call. I ain't Pee Wee L, she said at the time. I'm not L. I'm a beat her the FK up. She used Latto as the comparison point for what she is not. As in, I'm the one who actually follows through. I'm not soft like her. It wasn't even the main topic of the call. Latto was collateral, a reference, and that made it sting differently because it wasn't even about her. Interestingly, Elle and Ice Spice had already sorted their differences. So, this incident came out of nowhere. Latto and Ice Spice had been sending subliminal shots back and forth over the last few years, but ultimately put the beef to rest when they joined forces for Jayat earlier that month. So, Latto had just moved past her own beef. She'd squashed it. She did the feature. She moved on. And then she ends up tangled in somebody else's war as a prop for their toughness. Cardi then accused Ice Spice of leaking the phone call, as Ice Spice coincidentally tweeted out a laughing emoji in the midst of Card's back and forth with Nicki, and also capitalized on the spotlight by previewing her upcoming single Pretty Privilege. So, the whole thing was chaotic. Nicki beef raging on one side, Ice Spice drama popping off on another, and Latto's name getting dragged across both lanes. That September night, Cardi and Nicki went off on each other on X, reigniting their long-time feud. While their back and forth was the main story, LTO and Ice Spice were also dragged into the mix. A phone recording made its way onto the internet that featured Cardi ranting about Ice Spice. But in the midst of her anger, she ended up throwing a stray shot at Latto. And the part that makes this whole thing so painful is the timestamp. The Put It On Door Again collaborators had just joined again for Card's Airtime remix in September 2025. Less than a week before the call leaked. Less than a week, Latto rushed to the studio to record, dropped her verse, helped push those first week numbers, and within days, her name was being used as an insult in a phone call she wasn't even part of. Cardi didn't sit on it. The call dropped, and she moved fast. The WAP rapper faced the music and didn't back down, as she owned up to her mistake and publicly apologized to LTO, while promising to buy her a new designer bag. The post went up on September 30th, 2025. I'm not too prideful to apologize to somebody I really respect. So this my public apology, and now Emma privately buy her a bag. She wrote on X. At the time the energy around that apology was mostly positive. She acknowledged it publicly. She didn't deflect. She didn't say the audio was fake. She said she was ranting. She got carried away and she owned it. She wrote that she FS with Latto heavy and respects everything about her including her team. But here's where the gap opens up. Card's apology was public and immediate. Latto felt like, yeah, you tweeted to the world, but we got each other's number. And then about 2 months later, Cardi did text her, but by that time, Elle was already like, I'm not even thinking about that. So, the apology hit the wrong channel at the wrong speed. Latto needed a private conversation, person to person, not tweet to timeline. And by the time that private attempt came, the wound had already scabbed over. Not healed, just quiet. What made things worse, and this is the detail that Cardi herself brought up in her June 4th response when the call came out, I was 8 months pregnant, had just released my album, and was extremely overwhelmed and emotional. That's not to excuse what I said, but to let you know where I was in my head. I genuinely felt bad about what happened. And there's something genuinely complicated about that. Because Elle was also pregnant when all of this happened. She was pregnant at the time and Latto says she put her feelings on wax while her hormones were raging. 2 women, both carrying babies, both navigating wildly emotional life changes. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, this leaked call became a wound between them. In her lengthy X post, Cardi claimed, in 2025 and 2026, I made multiple attempts to connect. I spoke with your manager, your sister, and even texted you directly to take full responsibility. That's not a passive response. That's somebody who genuinely tried to fix something behind closed doors. And yet, none of it landed with Latto before the album dropped. Cardi suggested that while she preferred a private conversation, Latto chose to address the situation through her music. I wanted to connect with you, but you wanted to address it on your album, she wrote. That line is loaded. It's not an accusation. It's more of a quiet hurt. Like, I tried to handle this in private and you went to the record books with it. And L's response to the bag offer is the part that probably stings the most for Bart's side. When asked about Cardi talking about buying Big Mama a bag, L was direct. "I don't need no damn bag. It just left a bad taste in my mouth," she concluded. Elle pointed out that she and Cardi usually kept in contact and would chill with each other back then. So, the designer bag offer, which was probably meant as a heartfelt, generous gesture, read more like a band-aid over a bruise. You can't buy back trust. And Latto made that point plainly with no drama, no theatrics, just a flat-out, "I don't need it." The internet had opinions, of course. Fans on both sides immediately picked their lane. Some felt Cardi's apology was genuine, and Latto should have accepted it privately. Others said the public call-out deserved a public correction, and the bag offer was tone-deaf. It appears the friction between the two might have largely been a misunderstanding between two women handling different stages of pregnancy. But misunderstandings still leave marks, and this one left enough of a mark to end up pressed onto vinyl. The reason this whole situation hits differently than your average rap beef is the history behind it. This wasn't two strangers firing at each other from separate coasts. These two had built something real. Latto made a cameo in Cardi and Megan Thee Stallion's music video for WAP back in 2020. That was the beginning of a visible solidarity between them. Back when both were climbing, back when having each other's co-sign mattered. Cardi and Latto teamed up in 2023 for the Put It On the Floor remix titled Put It On Die Floor Again. The remix launched the track to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 and is certified platinum by the RAIAA. That's not filler collaboration. That's a record. A plaque, a moment that lives in both their catalogs permanently. And then came the Airtime remix. La was at an early stage of her own pregnancy when she rushed to the studio to lay her verse for the Airtime remix. In time for the first week sales of I The Drama. She did that because she wanted to, because they were friends, because she had love for Cardi's record. Elle told TMZ that Cardi had her stressed with a 24-hour turnaround. The song needed to be recorded, pressed, and sent back to make the next week deadline. But she made it happen. She laughed about it at the time. She called it stressful, but worth it. That's what friends do. And then within days, the call, the name, the internet. After announcing her pregnancy in March, Cardi had actually congratulated Elle on Instagram, writing, "Super boot day congrats." It's unclear if Cardi, who was in the midst of her Little Miss Drama tour, was even invited to Latto's baby shower, which was attended by Usher, Angel Reese, Sexy Red, and more. That detail tells you everything. The silence between them hasn't just been about a leaked call. It's been felt in real life. In the spaces where an invitation would have gone in the absence of a message when a baby was born, Latto released Big Mama on May 29th. Much of the press attention before the drop centered on her pregnancy and the impending birth of her first child. But now that she's given birth and the project is out, people are locked into the lyrics. And the irony of Big Mama, a title that's literally about becoming a mother, about new life, about legacy, carrying this particular song, this particular wound, is not lost. She wrote it when the pain was fresh. She kept it on the album and now the world is sitting with it. When asked about a potential conversation with Cardi, LTO said, "When? I don't know cause I got a baby now. Life done kept moving. The people are just now hearing that song. But I made that song when that was a topic in my life. It wasn't no diss. That's just what was happening in my life." That response says everything about where she is. She's moved into motherhood. She's moved into a new phase. Cardi is still a chapter that ended badly, but it's no longer the chapter she's living in. Cardi, meanwhile, made it clear she hasn't closed her side of this. "I always had love and respect for you. I always wanted to make it right, but making it right looks different for the both of us. I wanted to connect with you, but you wanted to address it on your album. That last line is the one that lingers. Making it right looks different for the both of us. That's not an accusation. That's just two people realizing they move through hurt in completely different ways. Cardi talks, texts, calls the manager, texts the sister. Latto goes to the studio and records. Neither approach is wrong, but they can't both be right at the same time when you're trying to find each other. Latto said she's open to having a conversation with Cardi when the time is right. But for now, the two remain in separate corners. So, here's where this sits as of right now. Latto confirmed the bars. Cardi responded publicly within hours. Both of them have laid out their sides with clarity. Neither has gone scorched earth, neither artist has indicated whether they have since spoken directly. What's left is the conversation that hasn't happened yet. The one Latto said she's open to but hasn't scheduled. The one Card's been trying to set up for months through managers and sisters and texts. The one that doesn't happen on X or on the Breakfast Club, but in a room. Just the two of them. Two collaborators, two mothers, two women who built something real together and then watched it fracture over a phone call. Neither of them intended to go public. The Airtime remix still exists. Put It on D Floor Again still has a plaque and Gimme that still has those bars. Whether they get back to where they were, that part hasn't been written.